Baroness Watkins of Tavistock.
I beg leave to ask the question standing in my name.
My Lords, the Government's priority is to ensure that women who require abortion services have access to safe, high-quality care. Abortions must be performed under the legal framework set by the 1967 Abortion Act. We are not currently in a position to approve homes as a class of place under the Act. However, we will continue to keep this matter under review and assess further evidence as it arises.
Lords, if women in Norway and Scotland and France and now Scotland can take this drug at home and not in a clinical setting, with all the careful safeguards and support that is in place. I've looked at what's happened in Scotland and there is no doubt about that at all. I think it's important that the government should afford the same facility to women in England. So I'd like the Noble Lord perhaps to go further than he has now and say that there will be a timetable for this to happen.
Well, in terms of the experiences of other countries, of course, any countries in the UK are operating under the auspices and obligations of the 1967 Act, and that's what any government would have to act under. In terms of the decision of the Scottish Government, they have made that decision. She will know that it's subject to a dispute, and a judicial review has been brought against it by the Society for the Protection of Unborn Children. They are obviously testing the legality of the Scottish Government and its powers to act. We will obviously look closely at the developments from those legal proceedings, as well as any other evidence that arises, and that is why I'm not unfortunately in a position to give her a timetable.
My Lords, my Lords, my Lords, a study of 42,600 early abortions in Finland, when there is good registry data, unlike England and Wales, found that 6 weeks post-abortion, complications after medical abortions were 4 times higher than after surgical, 20% compared with 5.6%. The RCOG cites one study in the UK where 53% of late medical abortions required surgical intervention. Given these facts, is Her Majesty's Government also concerned that so-called home abortions outside of a medical setting would compromise the health and safety of women, especially young women who may use these powerful chemicals secretly at home?
Well, I think there is obviously a concern of, and there has been an increase, unfortunately, in women buying the drugs necessary for medical abortions online. That is something that we are attempting to crack down on. But it is worth pointing out that 90% of abortions are NHS funded and therefore provided for in that way. She was talking about medical abortions at late stage. It is worth pointing out that actually there has been an increase in the number of abortions, or percentage of abortions, that are happening at an early stage, which is obviously in the interests of women's health.
The Noble Baroness Eaton mixed up two completely different things. She mixed up early medical abortions and late abortions. Could the Noble Lord the Minister confirm that a 2011 court case brought by BPS established that the Secretary of State does have the power to allow early medical abortions to happen at home? If he agrees with that, and if the evidence from the Scottish trial is convincing and is underpinned by the decision in the Scottish courts, will the Secretary of State then undertake, in all those circumstances, to look at the development of a facility for legal abortion, which may well be to the benefit of thousands of women in this country, particularly those who live in rural areas?
I am aware of the opinion in that judicial review. I think it is worth pointing out that there is still uncertainty about the legal position. That is why we will watch the legal developments in Scotland carefully and proceed cautiously. But I think it would be wrong of me to prejudge either the opinions that come from the court or indeed any evidence if that scheme does get up and running in Scotland.
Has any research been undertaken of the psychological feelings of people who have had abortions in their own homes?
I'm not aware of any research, but I shall ask the department to see if there is any and write to the Noble Lady if there is some.
If the information we've just had is correct,
that more women, especially young women, are buying abortion drugs online. Surely that proves the point that we need to improve the abortion services that we have within the NHS and the advice that is given to young women.
No, I don't think it does prove that. I think what it means is if you look at actually illegal drugs being bought of all kinds, whether they are illegal drugs, prescription drugs bought illegally and so on online, that is just more of a feature of modern life. Actually, if you look at the rates of abortion, they are falling in the under 18s, as is the teenage pregnancy and conception rate. So I do think those are separate issues.